What is estate planning? So let's really look at the basics. Some people hear estate planning and they're kind of like, what exactly is that? Some might know a little bit about it, not too sure. But what is estate planning? Estate planning is not just for the wealthy. It is a legal strategy to ensure your loved ones are financially and legally protected if something happens to you, and also that your business could continue, right? So here, we're looking here, and estate planning includes wills and trusts. And wills and trusts do two separate different things in your estate plan, right? If you want to avoid probate, you're going to have to create a trust. And the will be there, but the will is only going to be there to capture assets that you might not have transferred into your trust. Your power of attorney. As a business owner, this document is very important because it will allow others to do things on your behalf if you become incapacitated. Go to the bank, different things like that. So that's your power of attorney. And then your healthcare directives are critically super important. Why I say that? Because this is going to control, if you, God forbid, you're in an accident, you want to make sure you have those directives in place. So when your family or your loved ones are grieving, they don't have to make that decision about whether or not, to take you off life support, what kind of treatment you should receive. And I'll tell you a story about Terry Shriver, a really sad case coming out of Florida. It was about 1995. Terry Shriver was 26 years old. And she goes into cardiac arrest at home, falls down, and by the time they got to her and resuscitate her, she was completely brain dead at that point. She is now in the hospital. She's married at the time. She has kids. And after about 3 months, the doctors realized there's no bringing her back. She's going to be a vegetable. That was going to be her fate. She had no planning documents at all. Like most people that are young, it's like, I'm young, I'm healthy, I don't really need to think about estate planning at that point until this kind of thing happened. And so she is now at the hospital. They're still treating her. Her husband, who is her guardian now, he held on for 8 years. He held on to hope for 8 years, thinking she will come back from this persistent vegetative state, even though she was like brain dead at that point. She's like, medicine will advance. She is coming back. After 8 years of holding on, she never came back. So now he goes to the court to petition to take her off life support. Her parents challenge him and say, no, you can't take her off life support because she is still here. Our daughter is still alive. They then go and fight it out in court for years and years. It goes all the way up to the Florida Supreme Court. It goes to federal court. It hits, I think George Bush was president at the time. It hits his desk. It's up and down. All this stuff is playing out. All the time she is in hospice, right? The family are just like completely torn apart. After all of that, 15 years after she first went into cardiac arrest and was a complete vegetable and brain dead, she was finally taken off life support. This is why healthcare directives are so important, because healthcare directives contains your living will and your medical power of attorney. You get to choose now. Now is the time when you get to choose what happens to you if you happen to be in a situation like Terry Shriver. You don't want to be the Terry Shriver case, right? You want to be able to make those decisions now for your family so they know what your decision is and they don't have to be fighting about. That's why your healthcare directives are important. Now, if anyone on here has minor children, another key piece of your estate planning is naming guardians for your minor children. Not just in a will, but outside of a will. Because what happens in a will? A will never kicks in until you're dead. So if you're incapacitated and you need someone to take care of your children, you can't look to your will, because that's not going to happen, right? Because that will is not kicking in until you're dead. So you want to name guardians for your children in a separate document outside of your will And you not only want to name long-term guardians, you want to name short-term guardians. Think about it this way. You want to look at, say, if you're in a car accident, you want a short-term guardian, say like your neighbor or someone close within, say, 10 minutes of your house that could come and hold on to your kids before like the long-term guardians to get there, right? Say the long-term guardians are living further. Not only that, you want to make sure that when you are naming guardians, you're also doing extra planning for your children, right? They will need their own set of little mini healthcare documents, just in case you can't take them, you're incapacitated, that someone can take them to the doctor on your behalf. So that's why your estate planning should contain a piece of guardian for your minor children. Now, when it comes to asset protection in your planning, that dovetails back into trust. So say, yes, you're a business owner, but say you and your spouse both die, now you leave minor children. If you have no planning, what would happen is that all that assets could flood to those kids when they're still young, which no one wants. Like no parent wants to, for what will happen is that their money will be managed by the court. The court will appoint a guardian, and the guardian has to get paid. So now you're draining money from their inheritance that could go to your children. And that's no asset protection. But with trust planning, you could protect assets and create generational wealth at the same time. All this you could do with comprehensive estate planning.